Have you ever found yourself in the situation where you've genuinely wanted to go out and socialize, but you just have really struggled with the momentum in doing so? And that might look very different to everyone, but I want to, if anything, address the concept of putting yourself in a situation, a sociable situation at that, and what can you do just to get started, just to get that ball rolling so you can start interacting with people, get conversations going, and feel better about yourself in the process. So of course, this is going to be catered to the very beginners or the people who have had a break for whatever reason from social interactions. Maybe you're still recovering from the lockdowns. Maybe you've just found yourself in a situation where, friends have moved away from your locations. Maybe they're married. Maybe they've settled down. Maybe you're no longer friends with them for whatever reason, but it's put you in a circumstance where you are now on your own and you're looking to just take that next step to put yourself out there and start meeting new people. So for starters, you don't need to overdo it. Just start simple to begin with, and you can do that by setting very basic expectations. Now, whatever your situation is with putting yourself out there, just know that where you're at is absolutely okay, as long as you are putting in the effort and momentum with working on the issues that you want to address. So I'll give you an example about myself first, and then I'll give you an example with a client. So for me growing up, it was quite difficult to socialize with people. I was a very introverted guy, and in a way I still am after all these years. But I inherently understood that I couldn't just go straight over to someone and have a conversation, like a full-blown conversation. I needed to start simple and build up that bit more. And to set the expectation, I understood that where I was at was absolutely okay, but it still needed a lot of work. And as long as I was putting in that momentum and gathering experience and my improvement overall for my social skills, then I would eventually be having the kind of conversations that I wanted to have. So I started off small by simply going over to people and saying hello, or giving a compliment, or asking a very genuine and honest and curious question about something. And I would apply this in every sort of circumstance that I could. So years ago, I worked in retail. So I would be asking maybe colleagues who weren't working on my floor, particular questions about stuff. And I did find that over time, I started having bigger and bigger conversations with people as we started to become friends and become more comfortable and acknowledge each other, around that sociable environment. And even when I would go networking, I would film a lot of events of like workshops and whatnot. And I would, after a while, see the same people at different events. And it just led to inevitably just starting with, hello, how are you? Oh, I saw you at that last event, and so on. So I was able to slowly build this momentum up, speaking to people by just starting very simple. And I encourage the same thing really with a lot of my clients as well. So with a lot of the guys that I will take out on the street to help them with speaking to strangers, and in particularly working with them on their social skills by getting them to speak to people that they're attracted to, I would get them to do the same thing, that they understood that they just weren't yet in a place where they could have proper full-on conversations again. And for them, they needed to work on their social skills, but also just their conversation topics. They just weren't very good at thinking about, what topic to bring up with someone and then how to transition it into another topic, or what kind of questions could you ask, what's okay, what's not okay, can you disagree or share your opinion in a conversation? Believe it or not, these are things that people genuinely struggle with, and they're not sure if they should do it or not. And even particularly with guys who are speaking to someone that they're attracted to, they're worried that if they say something that could be offensive or disagree with the other person, that they're going to lose the opportunity of going on a date with them, which, believe it or not, is actually the complete opposite. You're even more attractive if you can actually voice your opinion and disagree with someone and, you know, give a really good point of view. So it's just food for thought with that. But ultimately, the guys that I work with, they then just go over, they give a compliment, they ask for directions. And when they start becoming more desensitized to that social situation, then they get a bit more confident in themselves. They have a bit more conviction with what they're doing because they're now telling themselves internally that things are okay, that they are going to walk away from the situation still alive and kicking. You know, they're not going to be killed or anything like that in this situation. They are going to come out much stronger, get more experience, and they are going to learn from every interaction. So again, just to reiterate, just set expectations and start off simple with your social skills and just putting yourself again in social environments, whether it's for networking, whether it's at a hobby, at an event, at work, or even meeting someone that you're attracted to. Just know where you are and accept that you need the practice and the experience to get better with your interactions, and then you will probably get the ultimate results, whatever that looks like to you at that point. But that length of time to get there can be very, very different for everyone. Which leads on to my second point about managing your energy levels and understanding where your limits are. Now, again, re-mentioning with me being quite an introverted person growing up, I knew that I didn't have much energy, or I would deplete my energy. That's probably a better way to say it. I would deplete my energy much faster than someone who was used to being in that social environment. And that is something else to just be aware of, that if you are quite shy or if you just don't have much social experience for, again, whatever that reason is for you personally, then you are only going to have so much energy to put into your interactions before you either experience some level of burnout, some level of fatigue, or some level of just waving the white flag and just being like, oh, you know what, I'm done talking to people today. I need a break. Now, when I'm, again, taking guys out, I find that I have to take regular breaks with them, especially if I'm doing a day that's either 4 hours or longer. And that break would be maybe anywhere between 1 to 2 hours at a time. Or taking a break, I should say, after 1 to 2 hours at a time. Because the body is burning calories still, and certainly a lot of energy in your brain when you are socializing, when you're speaking to people, when you're having to consciously think loads and loads. Okay, it's a lot of effort on the body, and especially if you're not used to it. So you have to just be aware of that. And what I'd be recommending to people is by making sure that you are eating right, you are drinking right, and depending on how you are choosing to develop your social skills, again, if it's at work or if it's in events or workshops, or even practicing cold approaching on the street, if you're going to work on your social skills in a much more unique environment, then you have to make sure that your body is fueled up as best as it possibly can. And just be aware of those moments where you do start feeling a dip in energy, a bit like for people who are diabetic and their blood sugar levels sort of like drop, and then they have to eat a little bit of chocolate to, you know, bring those levels back up. It's a very, very similar thing for people who just aren't used to talking to people. So have regular breaks if you can. Make sure that you are fueling your body up when and where you need to. And just be consciously aware of it. And it's okay when you do reach that point where you just can't push yourself anymore in a conversation. If you start feeling tired, if you start feeling drained, if, again, you're practicing your social skills, I mean, you can't really avoid it if you're at work or if you're at an event or something. But if you're doing this particular thing, or if this particular thing happens when you're purposely practicing on working on your social skills, then Except, right, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I need to go and have a break. I need to have a coffee or a drink or something. I need to have a bit of food, put it in my body, burn some calories, get that energy up, get those sugar levels up, and then I can carry on once again. Which leads me on to my last point, which is to embrace the micro wins and don't be too harsh on yourself, however far you get before you do hit that sort of burnout or fatigue or plateau of sorts. So guys, again, I think put too much expectation on going out and trying to get results with people, especially if you're doing working on your social skills for dating, that they just find that when they walk away from a situation, they're like, oh, damn, I didn't get a phone number. Oh, I'm a terrible person. Oh, no one likes me. No one's attracted to me. I've heard it all. I've heard that mindset or that inner voice kick in and that self-fulfilling prophecy take over, and it's just not going to help you in those circumstances, which is why you have to again have those expectations, which helps you to recognize those micro wins and just be optimistic with every conversation that you have. If you speak to someone and get rejected, so if someone basically just says no, they're not interested in you, or they reject even at the simplest level just the idea of having a conversation with you and conversing with you, that's not then for you to take it personally. That is for you to just recognize that that person clearly has stuff going on, but it is a win because you went over and you tried to start a conversation and you faced your fears over something that would have genuinely bothered you before. But let's also consider that you are going to put yourself into interactions where you are going to have a conversation and you might get as far as you can with it. It could be maybe a minute or so, it could be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long, again, depending on, you know, what event you're at, what sort of circumstances with the person that you're speaking to. And you might then get to a point where you're like, oh, you know what, I don't think I can really speak to anyone anymore. I think I'm kind of done for the day. And be proud of yourself for getting as far as that. Now, if you're going from someone who has not really spoken to strangers in a long time, or been in a situation that involves you speaking to people for a long time, then recognize that and be proud of the fact that you've done it and that you're doing something that so many other guys and even women as well would be scared to potentially do. So recognize those little wins, okay? And don't beat yourself up over it. If you don't get a phone number, if you don't get some result that you want, it's okay. You are growing, and consider that whatever it is that you were looking for now, consider that if you constantly carry on practicing talking to people, and I'll use as the example getting a phone number here. If let's say you're someone who's not really been on a date in a long time, or maybe you've just come out of a relationship and you'd like to find yourself in a new one and you want to kind of get to know someone and, you know, really, really find someone that you can settle down with and get married and have kids, then it's going to be strange putting yourself out there anyway and speaking to women or going on dates, and maybe what the new rules are with dating. You know, forget what you see online, but you know, it can be a bit of a minefield for people if they just don't know what to do or how to sort of like play the dating game and so on. So be okay with whatever the circumstances that happens. If you have a short interaction, if you have a long interaction, if you have a short date, a long date, if you wanted to speak to someone because you wanted to get their phone number, just accept everything as a micro win. An interaction is better than not having an interaction for a guy who's introverted or just unsociable. So start small, accept the micro wins, set these expectations for yourself. Be aware of your energy levels as you are practicing talking to people and building up that social momentum in the process, and give it time. And, when you are setting these expectations, even setting a goal and be like, you know what, I'd like to try and be in this place in 3 months or in 6 months, and reverse engineer it and think, right, well, how much time do I have to go out and practice socializing with people to roughly get to that place that I want to get to? What do I need to achieve each week to say, right, I am really happy with these results? I might not be getting phone numbers, but I am at least talking to people. I might not be going on dates, but I am at least getting phone numbers and having great conversations. Or I might be someone who's very introverted, but at least I'm actually going to events and to workshops and taking up hobbies and interests. And I am starting to speak to people to take myself out of this shyness and this small little comfort zone that I've got, and just expand it just that bit more. If you really like this content, do please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video as well, so leave a comment underneath. And if you've also got ideas for future videos for me, then do let me know, because I do want this channel to be very much community based and help you guys watching with your social skills, with your social anxiety, and how you just interact and communicate with the world. And whether that's for social reasons or even for dating, just know that I am here to help you with it too. So thank you again for watching. And of course, stay tuned for more videos from me.